Captain Elias Mercer had always believed that the universe held more mysteries than humans could ever understand. Every mission, every journey into deep space, reminded him of this truth. But nothing had prepared him for what he discovered on the uncharted planet he now hovered above. The planet was alive in ways that even the most advanced scans could not fully describe. Its forests glowed faintly in colors that did not exist on Earth, and rivers flowed with a strange silver liquid that reflected the stars in impossible patterns. Elias had been sent by the Galactic Exploration Council to map planets that could be suitable for colonization or resource gathering. Normally, his work involved sterile scans, samples, and reports that rarely stirred excitement. But as his small exploration shuttle descended into the dense canopy, a sense of anticipation gripped him. There was something unusual about this place, something that drew him in with invisible threads. Landing the shuttle on a clearing that seemed to welcome him, Elias quickly noticed that the air here was different. It carried a faint hum, almost musical, that resonated in his chest. Every living being he had studied before had a rhythm of life, but this hum was unlike anything he had experienced. It felt intelligent, aware, almost like the planet itself was watching him. Elias checked his equipment for anomalies. The scanners confirmed the presence of life, but it could not identify it properly. Large shapes moved among the trees, too quick and too precise to be normal wildlife. His curiosity mixed with caution. He had been trained to expect the unexpected, but intuition told him that this planet was more than just another research mission. As he ventured deeper, the forest thickened and light became scarce. Bioluminescent plants lit his path, casting shifting shadows on the ground. He moved silently, mindful of each step. Something about this place demanded respect. Every instinct in his body told him that he was not alone. It was then that he saw her. She appeared suddenly from behind a thick cluster of glowing ferns. Her movements were fluid, almost floating rather than walking. She had the elegance of someone used to moving silently, her presence commanding even without sound. Her skin shimmered faintly under the alien light, and her eyes, large and luminous, held a depth that Elias had never seen. She was not human, yet there was a familiarity in her gaze, a reflection of intelligence and curiosity that transcended species. Elias froze, not out of fear, but out of awe. He had studied alien life for years, but never had he encountered one so complex. The way she observed him was different from animals, or even other intelligent species he had met. She was aware, calculating, and cautious. "Don't move," he whispered to himself, gripping his exploration rifle instinctively. The alien woman's lips parted slightly, and a soft melodic voice came from her. "Don't touch me." The words were clear, direct, and carried a weight that surprised him. They were not a simple warning. There was history, experience, and a warning woven into them. Elias's mind raced. The scanners showed her as a life form capable of psychic sensitivity. Many alien species had protective instincts, but this seemed extreme. A single touch, according to his readings, could cause immense feedback, mental shock so strong it could incapacitate a human instantly. Yet, something in the urgency of the moment made him act. Before he could fully think, a loud roar split the air. The predator had found him. The creature, massive and armored, surged through the undergrowth with astonishing speed. Elias realized that hesitation would cost him dearly. "It's too late," he said quietly, stepping forward. His hand reached for her, not recklessly, but with a purpose that surprised even him. The moment he touched her arm, a shock ran through him, a torrent of raw, alien energy. His body tensed, his mind screamed with unfamiliar sensations, yet he stood firm. Something inside him resisted the psychic backlash. It was as if his human resilience, the very core of his being, allowed him to endure what others could not. The alien woman stiffened, her eyes widening in disbelief. She had expected any human to collapse immediately, as her species had seen countless others perish when contact occurred. Yet here he was, alive, standing, and focused. For the first time, she hesitated, studying him instead of fleeing. The predator lunged, and together they acted instinctively. Elias ducked to the side, pushing the woman just enough to avoid the creature's sharp claws. She moved with him, her body flowing in perfect synchronization with his actions, a silent dance against the predator's deadly advance. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, the creature retreated, startled by a sudden flare of bioluminescent light that Elias had triggered with a makeshift device. The forest fell silent again, the hum returning, almost approvingly. Elias and the alien woman stood facing each other, both catching their breath. The connection between them was undeniable, though invisible. It was not just the touch or the shared danger. Something deeper stirred, a recognition that humanity and her species, despite vast differences, could find common ground. "Why? Are you not harmed?" she asked finally, her voice cautious but tinged with curiosity. Elias shook his head. "I don't know. Maybe humans are tougher than you think." His words carried a hint of humor, a soft smile forming on his lips despite the adrenaline still coursing through him. The alien woman, still tense, studied him. "No human has survived contact like that before."
"Your mind, it is different. Stronger than it should be."
"Dangerous in ways I cannot measure." Elias nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He had always known humans were resilient. But this reaction, this unbroken endurance, was more than he had expected. It was a small victory, but in this alien world, victories were rare and precious. For the next hour, they did not speak much. Elias observed her carefully, noting the way she moved, the subtle shifts in her posture, and the intelligence in her gaze. She, in turn, watched him with measured caution. Trust had not been earned, but a foundation had been laid. As the sun, or what passed for a sun on this planet, began to sink behind the alien canopy, Elias realized that his mission had changed. He had come to explore, to map, to report, but now he understood that his presence here had deeper consequences. He was not merely an observer. He was a participant in something larger, something that could shape the future of this world and perhaps even the galaxy. "Do you have a name?" he asked gently, unsure if it would be acceptable to ask. "Alara," she replied after a pause, her voice softer now, almost musical. "And you are?" "Elias Mercer, captain of the human exploration team." He extended his hand, careful not to touch her again without consent. Alara studied the hand for a long moment. Finally, she nodded slightly. It was a small gesture, but it carried significance. She had accepted his presence, if not fully his touch. Night fell, and the forest around them came alive with sounds and lights that dazzled and confused Elias. Strange insects glowed in geometric patterns, while distant shapes moved like shadows with purpose. He realized that every corner of this planet was a puzzle, and every creature had a role in a system far more complex than human understanding. Yet, despite the strangeness, Elias felt a spark of hope. Humans had always been considered fragile in the cosmic scale, weak and insignificant compared to older, more powerful species. But here, in the heart of this alien wilderness, he had survived. He had made contact. He had proven that humanity's greatest strength was not in sheer power, but in resilience, ingenuity, and the courage to act when others would hesitate. Alara remained close, never leaving his sight. Her eyes reflected the alien night, and for the first time, Elias sensed something unspoken, a recognition that this human was unlike any she had encountered. Perhaps, he thought, this was the beginning of an extraordinary alliance, one that neither species could yet imagine. As he settled near a cluster of glowing plants, preparing for what he knew would be a difficult night, Elias could not shake the feeling that this planet, this encounter, and this mysterious woman had changed the course of his life. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, wonders, and secrets. But in that moment, he understood something fundamental. Humanity had a place, and perhaps a purpose, in the cosmic story that was unfolding. Above, the stars shimmered in unfamiliar constellations, and the hum of the planet persisted, almost like a heartbeat. Elias closed his eyes briefly, feeling the pulse of life around him. Somewhere nearby, Elara whispered words he could not understand, but the tone was clear. It was cautious, wary, yet curious. A sound that promised challenges, lessons, and perhaps a connection neither of them would forget. And so the first night passed on the uncharted world, with two beings from vastly different worlds, bound together by circumstance, courage, and the faintest hint of trust. The galaxy outside remained indifferent, vast, and perilous. But within the forest, a story had begun, one that would test the limits of strength, intelligence, and the human heart. The morning light broke through the dense canopy, casting long beams across the forest floor. The silver streams reflected the sunlight in dazzling patterns, and the hum of the planet seemed calmer than the night before, almost welcoming. Elias Mercer stretched, his muscles aching slightly from the adrenaline and tension of the previous day, but his mind was alert. He had survived the psychic shock from Elara, a feat that even he did not fully understand, and he knew that earning her trust would require more than mere words. Elara was already awake, standing a short distance away. Her posture was relaxed but cautious, her luminous eyes observing him carefully. She had moved closer during the night, but never fully relaxed, her instinctive caution blending with curiosity. Elias nodded toward her. "Morning," he said softly. "I hope I didn't disturb your rest." Elara tilted her head. "Your kind rests differently," she said. "You do not share the same rhythm as we do, but you survived the night. That is unusual." Elias smiled faintly, appreciating the cautious acknowledgement. "Humans can be unpredictable," he said, "sometimes in ways that even we don't expect." Her lips curved in a near smile, the first indication that she might be warming to him, though she quickly returned to her usual calm demeanor. "We will see," she said, turning and gesturing for him to follow. Elias complied, careful to maintain a respectful distance. They moved through the forest together, Elara leading the way. Elias marveled at her knowledge of the terrain. She navigated the uneven ground, glowing plants, and twisting vines with perfect precision. Every step seemed intentional, every movement efficient. She avoided dangers he had not even noticed. Poisonous plants, unstable ground, hidden creatures that blended seamlessly into the surroundings. Elias followed as best he could, relying on his human instincts, adaptability, and observational skills. Eventually, they reached a clearing where the community lived. Small, organic structures were built into the forest, almost invisible from a distance. They seemed to grow from the plants themselves, shaped and guided by some combination of architecture and biology. Elara's people, initially cautious, observed Elias silently. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting curiosity and wariness. Elara introduced him cautiously. "This is Elias Mercer, Myelane." "He is human. He survived contact. He is different." The community remained silent, exchanging glances. Their reactions were not hostile, but skepticism lingered. Humans were weak, fragile, and unpredictable in their experiences with Elara's kind. That Elias stood unscathed and alert was unheard of. Some whispered among themselves, questioning whether he was a threat or a miracle. Elias understood their hesitation. He took a slow, deliberate bow, acknowledging their presence without stepping too close. "I come in peace," he said. "I only wish to help if I can." Elara studied him, and Elias could feel her subtle psychic probe, a faint sensation brushing against his mind. like a gentle wind trying to detect his intentions. He allowed it, remaining calm, showing no fear or deception. Her eyes widened slightly. Few humans could endure even this level of psychic attention without panic or retreat. "Follow me," she said at last. She led him to a larger structure, hollowed out of a massive tree, its interior glowing softly with bioluminescent light. Inside, alien devices and tools lined the walls. Ilara moved to a console of strange material, touching it lightly.
"The predator you saw last night is not native," she explained. "It was driven here by forces beyond our understanding."
"We have never seen its kind before." Elias nodded, listening carefully. He had scanned the area during his descent, but the sensors were limited. "It was hunting us," he said. "We need to know why and how to protect your people." Ilara's eyes narrowed slightly. "You survived it."
"How? I'm not sure," he admitted. "Maybe humans are
"Stubborn. Or maybe I react differently than other species."
What matters now is finding a solution. She studied him silently for a moment, then gave a sharp nod. "Very well.
"If you wish to help, you must learn our ways. You must understand the forest, the creatures, and our defenses. Only then can you survive and aid us effectively." Elias accepted the challenge without hesitation. For humans, adaptation was a strength, and he intended to prove it. Over the next few hours, Ilara guided him through the forest, teaching him how to sense dangers, identify edible plants, and avoid traps set by both predators and natural hazards. Elias observed everything with intense focus. He did not just memorize instructions. He analyzed, improvised, and improved on them using human logic and creativity. When they reached the edge of a river, Ilara showed him how to detect underwater currents and hidden predators. Elias noticed a cluster of plants that, according to Ilara, could generate a chemical that repelled certain creatures. He quickly experimented, mixing small portions of the plant extracts into a portable spray. The results were immediate. A small creature approaching the river recoiled, unable to tolerate the scent. Ilara's eyes widened.
"You understand quickly," she said. "I pay attention," Elias replied.
Observing, testing, adjusting. Humans rely on experience and instinct as much as on knowledge. She studied him thoughtfully. "Perhaps this is why you survived." By midday, Elias had not only learned basic survival, but also applied human ingenuity to improve the community's safety measures. He reinforced barriers, designed simple traps for predators, and created signals using natural materials to alert the community to danger. Each success earned him subtle acknowledgement from Ilara and cautious approval from her people. Despite the physical exertion and constant attention, Elias felt a strange exhilaration. He was pushing the limits of what humans were thought capable of. Every time he solved a problem, his confidence grew, and he sensed that Ilara's respect, and perhaps trust, was slowly following. As the sun dipped low again, casting long shadows across the alien landscape, a sudden alarm rang through the forest. A small group of predators had approached, more numerous and aggressive than the one from the previous night. Ilara's community scattered, relying on the barriers and traps Elias had devised. Elias acted quickly, combining his own improvisation with Ilara's instructions. He triggered one trap after another, leading the predators into a maze of obstacles. His human unpredictability made it impossible for the creatures to anticipate his movements. Ilara followed closely, coordinating silently, their actions synchronized in a way that surprised even her. After a tense confrontation, the predators retreated, confused and overwhelmed. Elias stood panting, his heart racing, but victorious. Ilara approached him slowly, her luminous eyes observing him carefully. She extended a hand, not touching him yet, but offering acknowledgement.
"You survived again,"
she said softly.
"You think, adapt, and act with a clarity most species cannot."
"Humans, perhaps you are stronger than we believed." Elias smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. I told you humans can be unpredictable. For the first time, Aelara allowed a small smile to touch her face. The psychic link between them strengthened subtly. Elias could sense her approval, respect, and something else, an unspoken curiosity, a desire to understand more. The night fell, and the community gathered near the central tree. Aelara invited Elias to sit beside her, a gesture of trust she had never extended to a human before. He accepted, careful not to break the boundaries of her comfort. The stars above the canopy shimmered, and the hum of the planets surrounded them.
You are different, Aelara said finally.
Not just in strength, but in spirit. Your kind carries a fire that surprises even those who study it. Perhaps this is why you survived, why you can walk among us. Elias nodded thoughtfully. Humans have always relied on more than strength. We adapt, we learn, and we persist. That has allowed us to survive where others might fail. Aelara's gaze lingered on him, her expression unreadable yet open. Elias understood that the bond between them was still fragile, yet promising. The night was quiet, filled with the subtle sounds of the forest, the soft glow of bioluminescent plants, and the gentle presence of a species that had never fully trusted humans, until now. As he prepared for another night, Elias realized that this mission had changed entirely. He was no longer just an explorer or observer. He had become a participant in the survival of a species, a bridge between humanity and an alien world. His actions, his ingenuity, and his courage had earned him a place among them. But more importantly, they had proven that humans could make a difference, even in the vast, indifferent galaxy. And somewhere nearby, Aelara watched him silently, her thoughts a mixture of caution, curiosity, and something she had not yet named. A recognition that perhaps humans were more than she had ever imagined. The first night of learning had passed. Trust had begun to grow, challenges had been met, and Elias had shown that human resilience and ingenuity were forces even the most advanced species could not dismiss. The galaxy remained vast and dangerous, but for the first time, one human had proven that he could survive, adapt, and perhaps even thrive in a world that seemed designed to reject him. And in that quiet moment, under the alien stars and the soft hum of the forest, a story began to unfold. One that would test courage, intelligence, and the enduring spirit of humanity against forces that neither species had yet imagined. The calm that had settled over the alien forest was short-lived. Morning arrived with the unsettling hum of distant engines, vibrating through the ground in a rhythm unfamiliar to the planet's natural pulse. Elias Mercer noticed it first, pausing mid-step as he scanned the horizon with binoculars. The sky, which had seemed peaceful for the last 2 days, was now streaked with the silhouettes of approaching ships. "They are not native," Aelara said immediately, her voice steady but edged with concern.
"We have never seen such machines in our skies. They come from beyond the stars. Ni avenues."
"Their purpose is unknown, but it cannot be good." Elias followed her gaze, noting the sleek, angular design of the ships. They moved with precision, dropping smaller vessels toward the planet's surface. It was clear that this was not a scouting mission. It was an invasion. The human mind, trained for danger and strategy, began calculating risks and opportunities in real time. Aelara led him to the edge of the forest, where her people had erected defensive structures, using both natural and constructed elements. Though impressive, Elias could see immediately that they were no match for an organized fleet. "We need a plan," he said. "One that uses your knowledge of the forest, the terrain, and your species' abilities, combined with what humans can improvise." She studied him carefully, her luminous eyes reflecting a mixture of skepticism and hope. "Humans are fragile," she said. "Your species can survive much, but against an entire fleet, you will die." "Maybe," Elias admitted. "But if we do nothing, your people will die anyway. We have to try." Aelara nodded slowly. There was a pause, the kind that stretched the air taut with tension. Then she gestured for him to follow. Together, they moved deeper into the forest, where the trees twisted into natural corridors, and the bioluminescent plants formed confusing patterns for those unfamiliar with the terrain. Elias noticed how the community had integrated their environment into defense, traps hidden in plain sight, obstacles shaped to channel intruders into specific paths. "We will need to combine our efforts," Alara explained as they moved. "Your unpredictability is useful, but it must work with our knowledge. Alone, neither can succeed." Elias nodded. He understood instinctively that humans had an advantage here. Alien species often relied on precision, tradition, and predictability. Humans, by contrast, thrived on improvisation, creativity, and boldness. By combining these strengths with Alara's people, they could create strategies that the invaders would not anticipate. Over the next several hours, they worked tirelessly. Elias suggested using the reflective properties of the silver rivers to disorient the smaller ships, creating optical illusions that would make them misjudge distances. He helped modify traps to collapse suddenly, creating barriers in unexpected ways. Ayalara's people learned quickly, adapting human ideas into their own methods with remarkable speed. The first wave of attack came before sunset. The smaller vessels descended, sleek and aggressive, scanning the forest for life signs. Elias and Alara coordinated silently, signaling with subtle gestures and psychic nudges. The humans' improvised traps, combined with the aliens' knowledge of the terrain, created chaos for the attackers. Vines shot up to entangle ships, natural pits opened suddenly beneath mechanical feet, and the silver rivers reflected light in ways that blinded sensors. Despite their success, the fleet was larger than anticipated. The invaders regrouped quickly, bringing heavier machinery and more advanced weapons. Alara's people were skilled, but even their combined strength with Elias was barely holding the line. In one tense moment, a massive mechanical walker broke through a barricade, its metal feet crushing everything in its path. Elias acted instinctively. He ran toward the walker, dodging energy blasts, and scaled a fallen tree to leap directly onto the machine. Using simple tools and his understanding of leverage, he jammed its moving parts, causing it to stumble and collapse. The alien observers could not hide their astonishment. No human had ever dared approach their most dangerous foes so directly, and even fewer could manipulate machinery with such creativity under pressure. Alara watched him carefully, a mix of pride and disbelief in her gaze. The battle continued into the night. Elias and Alara moved through the forest like shadows, coordinating attacks, redirecting forces, and ensuring civilians remained safe. Every step, every decision, required ingenuity and courage. The humans' unpredictability frustrated the invaders, making them vulnerable in ways they did not anticipate. Finally, after hours of continuous struggle, the invaders withdrew. Their ships retreated into the sky, leaving behind destroyed machinery and a stunned community. The alien defenders, exhausted but alive, began tending to the wounded and repairing damage. Alara approached Elias, her expression unreadable, yet tinged with admiration. "You have done what no human or alien could have done alone," she said softly. "You combine thought, courage, and instinct in ways I cannot fully understand. Perhaps
Your species is stronger than I believed." Elias, breathing heavily, allowed himself a small smile.
it's what humans do," he said simply. "We survive, we adapt, and we try to protect those we can." Alara studied him, her luminous eyes reflecting the alien stars above. "You risked yourself for others. That is rare." "That is valuable." For the first time, she allowed him to stand close without caution. The psychic tension that had always existed between them softened, replaced by a mutual respect and understanding. Elias could sense her thoughts more clearly now, not invasive, but willing to share, exploring a bond neither species had expected. Over the following days, they repaired the community together. Elias continued to teach the aliens small human techniques, combining logic, improvisation, and experimentation. He built mechanisms to amplify their natural defenses, and created simple alarm systems using reflective surfaces and sound resonance. Each success strengthened the trust between him and Elara. Meanwhile, the threat of the fleet loomed in the background. Satellite scans from Elias's shuttle indicated that the invaders were regrouping, possibly preparing for a larger attack. He shared this information with Elara, who recognized the gravity of the situation. "We must prepare," she said. "If they return, it will be with full force. Our survival depends on strategy, strength, and courage." Elias nodded. "Then we prepare, and we fight smarter, not just harder." They trained together, combining human improvisation with alien precision. Elias demonstrated how to use natural camouflage to mislead sensors, how to manipulate the terrain to create unexpected barriers, and how to predict enemy movements through logic and intuition. Elara incorporated these lessons into her people's routines, creating a defense system that was unlike anything the invaders had faced before. Through it all, the bond between Elias and Elara grew. They shared small moments of understanding, silent communication, brief smiles, and subtle gestures that conveyed trust and mutual respect. The initial wariness, the whispered, "Don't touch me," began to fade as they realized that survival required cooperation, and cooperation required trust. One evening, as they stood overlooking the forest from a high ridge, Elara spoke quietly. "Humans are strange," she said. "You are fragile, yet resilient. You act without certainty, yet your decisions often succeed.
You risk yourselves for others without expecting reward. It is admirable." Elias looked at her, the alien light reflecting in her eyes.
"It's what we do," he said softly. "We adapt, we protect, we survive together." She studied him, the faintest smile touching her lips. For the first time, the psychic barrier that had separated them seemed to dissolve slightly. Elias could feel her approval, respect, and something else, an unspoken bond that went beyond survival. The stars shimmered above, and the forest below hummed in response to the life it contained. Elias understood that the coming battle would be the ultimate test, not just of strength, but of intelligence, courage, and the enduring human spirit. The invaders would return, stronger and more organized. But with Elara's knowledge and the humans' ingenuity combined, they had created something neither side could have done alone. And Elias knew, with every fiber of his being, that humanity had a role in shaping this planet's destiny, a role that could change the galaxy forever. As night fell, the hum of the forest mingled with the distant stars. Elias and Elara stood together, two beings from vastly different worlds united by purpose, trust, and courage. The galaxy beyond remained vast, indifferent, and dangerous. But here, in this alien forest, humanity had proven itself in ways that no one could ignore. The stage was set. The next encounter would be decisive, and Elias Mercer, human explorer, was ready to face it with ingenuity, resilience, and the unyielding courage that had brought him this far. The alien forest was tense with anticipation. Every leaf, every bioluminescent plant seemed to hold its breath. Captain Elias Mercer stood at the edge of the central clearing, his eyes scanning the horizon. The invaders had returned, their fleet larger and more menacing than before. Metallic ships streaked across the sky, dropping mechanical walkers and advanced drones that moved with frightening precision. The hum of the planet was now mingled with the vibrations of approaching engines, a warning that danger was near. Beside him, Elara moved silently, her luminous eyes fixed on the horizon. She had studied every detail of the incoming threat, calculating the best ways to defend her people. But even she could not predict the human creativity that Elias brought to the battlefield. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice calm but firm.
Elias nodded. "I've never been more ready."
"We survive, we fight. We adapt. Together, we'll make them regret coming here. Her gaze softened slightly, the faintest acknowledgement of trust passing between them. The words she had whispered long ago, "Don't touch me," no longer carried fear. Instead, they were a memory of caution overcome, a symbol of trust earned through courage and action. The first wave of walkers descended into the forest. The ground shook under their massive feet, and the air was filled with the whirring of drones scanning for life. Elias and Elara moved through the forest like shadows, coordinating silently. His human mind processed possibilities at incredible speed, improvising strategies that even the aliens had not considered. Elias signaled to a group of Elara's people, pointing to clusters of reflective plants along the river. With careful timing, they ignited the natural oils within the plants, creating bursts of blinding light that confused the invaders' sensors. Drones collided with trees, walkers stumbled into traps disguised as terrain, and chaos rippled through the invaders' ranks. Elara moved alongside Elias, guiding her people with precision. Her psychic link with him had strengthened through the days, allowing them to anticipate each other's actions. When a massive walker tried to push through the central barricade, Elias leapt onto it, using his weight and simple tools to jam its moving parts. Just as he had days before, the alien observers gasped, unable to comprehend a human daring to face such danger head-on. The battle intensified. Smaller ships fired energy beams, slicing through trees and earth, but Elias adapted. He led teams to create decoys using reflective surfaces, holographic illusions, and natural terrain. The invaders' advanced technology could not predict the unpredictability of human ingenuity. Each time they thought they had an advantage, Elias found a way to turn it against them. Elara's people fought bravely, inspired by the human beside them. For the first time, they saw that strength was not only physical or technological. It could come from the mind, from courage, and from a willingness to act when others hesitated. Humans, fragile as they might seem, possessed a spark that even the most advanced species respected. Hours passed in a blur of motion, strategy, and survival. The forest was scarred by the conflict, but the defenders held their ground. Then, as the invaders began to regroup for a final assault, Elias realized the key to victory. The central river, which had been largely untouched, could be used to amplify their defenses. Using natural currents, reflective surfaces, and alien energy conductors, he designed a system that would channel the invaders' energy attacks back at them. Elara watched in awe as he worked, her eyes wide with admiration.
Humans.
You think differently. You see patterns where we see chaos.
Use the environment as a weapon in ways I never imagined. Elias nodded, sweat dripping from his brow. We survive by thinking, adapting, and acting. It's not just about strength. It's about strategy, timing, and courage. When the final wave of invaders arrived, Elias and Elara activated the system. Energy beams shot into the river, reflecting and refracting, creating a dazzling display that disoriented the ships. Walkers stumbled into pits and barricades, drones collided midair, and confusion spread like wildfire. Elias and Elara moved through the chaos, directing her people and improvising new defenses on the fly. One massive walker broke through a secondary barrier, heading directly toward the central clearing where Elara's people had gathered. Elias did not hesitate. He ran toward the machine, dodging energy blasts, and leapt onto its side. Using a combination of levers, vines, and alien mechanisms, he jammed its hydraulics, causing it to topple. Elara coordinated nearby defenders to trap the fallen walker, ensuring it could not rise again. The invaders, seeing their forces crumble under the combined ingenuity of human and alien collaboration, retreated in disarray. Their ships pulled back, leaving the planet in a stunned silence. The defenders, exhausted but victorious, began tending to the wounded and repairing damage. Elias stepped back, breathing heavily, his eyes scanning the aftermath. Elara approached him, her expression a mixture of awe and respect. You have done what no single species could have accomplished. Your mind, your courage, your spirit.
Humans are truly remarkable. Elias shook his head, humbled. I just did what I had to.
We survived together. That's what matters. For the first time, Ayara allowed herself to step close, breaking the invisible barrier that had always existed between them. I trust you, she said softly. The words were simple, yet heavy with meaning. They were a recognition of his courage, his resilience, and the bond they had formed through shared danger. Elias looked at her, understanding the significance. Trust was hard to earn, especially between species separated by countless differences. But here it was, tangible and real. He extended his hand, and she took it, not hesitating. The touch was light but full of unspoken connection, a symbol of unity forged through adversity. The community gathered around them, witnessing a moment that transcended words. Humans and aliens, once strangers, now stood united in victory and mutual respect. The forest, scarred but alive, seemed to hum in approval, a recognition of their combined efforts. Over the following days, Elias helped Alara's people rebuild. They repaired structures, reinforced defenses, and shared knowledge that would help them withstand future threats. The bond between human and alien strengthened with every task, every shared moment of triumph or difficulty. Alara, once cautious and distant, began to speak freely with Elias. They exchanged ideas, strategies, and stories of their respective worlds. Through these conversations, she came to understand humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and unyielding courage. Elias, in turn, learned about her species' profound intelligence, adaptability, and connection to their environment. The night before Elias was scheduled to return to his shuttle, he and Ilara stood together atop a high ridge overlooking the forest. The stars above shimmered in unfamiliar constellations, casting silver light across the landscape. Elias felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not for himself, but for what humans and aliens had achieved together. You have changed the course of this world, Alara said softly. Your presence, your actions, they will be remembered. Humans are not as small or fragile as I once believed. Elias smiled. It's what we do. We survive. We adapt. And we protect those who need it. That's how we make a difference. She turned to him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of gratitude and something deeper. Trust, respect, and perhaps the first stirrings of friendship, or even more. You are extraordinary, she said. And so are you, he replied. Together, we made something stronger than either of us alone. The hum of the forest seemed to grow louder, resonating through the trees and rivers, as if the planet itself acknowledged the bond forged between the two species. Elias knew that the galaxy beyond was vast, filled with dangers, wonders, and mysteries yet to explore. But here, on the small planet, humanity had proven its value, not through sheer strength, but through courage, intelligence, and the unyielding spirit that defined the human race. When it came time for Elias to leave, Alara and the community gathered to see him off. There were no words needed to express the gratitude, respect, and admiration that filled the air. He had not only helped them survive, but he had shown them that humans could be allies, innovators, and protectors. As his shuttle lifted off, Elias looked down at the forest below. Alara stood at the edge of the clearing, waving, her luminous eyes fixed on him. He felt a connection that went beyond words, a promise that their paths would cross again. Humanity had made its mark on this world, and he had been the bridge between two species, showing that courage, ingenuity, and resilience could overcome even the greatest odds. The stars stretched out before him, infinite and shining, and Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, but humans had proven that they could survive, adapt, and thrive, even in the face of danger, uncertainty, and the unknown. And somewhere in the forest, Alara whispered once more, though this time not in fear or caution. The words were a promise, a recognition, and a hope. You are not like the others. You are human. Elias smiled, knowing that those words carried more meaning than any he had ever heard. They were the culmination of trust earned, battles fought, and a bond formed across the stars. Humanity had faced the impossible and emerged stronger, and in that moment the universe seemed a little smaller, a little kinder, and a little more full of possibility. The adventure was over for now, but the story of courage, ingenuity, and the enduring human spirit would continue, and Captain Elias Mercer would always carry the memory of the alien woman, the forest, and the victory that proved humanity could rise to meet any challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed.